Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, May 1st. I'm going to just wait a minute or two, see if anybody checks in. And I'm Karen Pullen, and I have a little cooking demo school thing going called Everyday Plant-Based, where I try to normalize the plant-based way of eating and show how easy it is to cook this way without using meat or butter or eggs or products from animals. We just use plants. So, and actually most of the animals that are used for meat in this country are all plant eaters. So all we're doing is we're skipping, I call it skipping the middle moo. So we're just going right to the plants ourselves. We don't need the animals to convert it into something. We can get everything we need from plants. The only exception is B12. Take your B12, people. Yeah, so today I'm going to make a dessert, and I don't usually make desserts in these lives, especially not things that have to be baked. In fact, that reminds me, I need to turn on my oven. Hold on here. I forgot to do that. I should have done that 5 minutes ago. Yeah, so I don't usually bake because there's that lull between putting stuff in the oven and then having it coming out where you can do something with it. And so there's that delay. Well, today I'm going to make use of that delay. I'm going to make some frosting for the cupcakes. And then I'm also going to make a little spice mix that I really like. And you can see how easy that is. So folks are here. If you want to say hi in the comments, that would be great. You can just say hi and where you're from. And then if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments, and I will try to answer them as we go along. So to make these cupcakes, there's a couple of steps. There's making the cupcakes themselves, and I'm just going to make mini muffins because they'll bake quicker. Normally I would make cupcakes. This recipe actually makes a single layer, like a 9-inch layer, or it'll make 12 cupcakes. And I think it'll probably make maybe 30 of these mini ones. We'll see. I have muffin tins for 24, so we'll see. Okay, so first I want to show you. Welcome to my cooking show. Isn't that cute? I might use that later. Get it out of the way. Okay, so we're going to start with the cupcakes, and there are two components. There's the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. And I'm going to use my little food processor for the wet ingredients. The wet ingredients include sweet potatoes. So that's my mystery ingredient in these. So a lot of cakes use vegetables. You know, we think of zucchini bread and banana bread. Sweet potatoes are a great addition to baked goods. They're moist and they hold fiber, and you know, I'm going to bake this in a chocolate cake, and when we taste the cake, we just taste the chocolate. It's not like we're going to taste sweet potatoes, but they just make it a moist and delicious cake. Yay! The recipe for this for these cupcakes is on my website, which is everydayplantbased.com. And I'm pretty sure I put a comment on the event that links to the recipe too, if somebody's interested in it. Okay, so let's get going with the cake. I'm actually going to start with the wet ingredients, which in the recipe is step 3. So I've already cooked up some sweet potatoes, and the way I cook them is I just put them in the microwave, stab them a few times to let the steam out, and then I microwave them. My microwave has a potato setting, and I just push that once, and then I push it again, and the sweet potatoes come out beautifully. This is 2 sweet potatoes. I think it's probably more than 2 cups. For the recipe I'm using here today, I need about 2 cups. So we're going to measure this out. Okay, so the wet ingredients for the cake are sweet potato, and that calls for 3/4 of a cup. And I have a 3/4 of a cup measure. So we'll just load that in there. Okay. All right, 3/4 of a cup of sweet potatoes. Get it all in there. The frosting also has sweet potatoes in it. This is quite an amazing recipe, and anytime if I take it, for potluck, people devour it. Okay, I have to get my maple syrup out of the fridge. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I keep it in the fridge. Does it say to refrigerate? I can't remember. I just do. It's so precious. We don't want it to spoil. Okay, so calls for 1/4 cup of maple syrup. I'm making people are just tuning in. I'm making the wet ingredients for the cake now. So far, we've put in 3/4 cup of sweet potatoes, which have already been cooked. What you could also make this recipe with is canned sweet potatoes. If you can find, I couldn't find them at the store. I wanted to look for them because I thought that would be a good demonstration to show that, but I couldn't find them. But anyway, they're so easy to cook in the microwave. I don't think that the canned sweet potatoes are at all necessary. Okay, there's the maple syrup. We're going to add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla, which is also another precious ingredient. Things are expensive. Vanilla is expensive. All right, 1, 2. I got my vanilla from Penzeys, which is a online spice store. They have some brick and mortar stores too, but I always order mine online. I love Penzeys. They have great selection. Okay, vanilla, and 1/2 cup of water. Let me find my 1/2 cup measure. There it is. Okay, this is the wet ingredients for the cake. Just using my small food processor for this. A little bit noisy here, sorry. The only thing I'm thinking is it seems to have a lump. Yeah, there's a lump in here. So I'm going to run this another minute. Had a little lump of sweet potato. That smells good. Maple syrup and vanilla, nice combination. Okay, then we're going to do the dry ingredients. I'm not going to sift them. I'm just going to whisk it really good. Okay, so the dry ingredients are flour. I'm using whole wheat pastry flour. I like to use a whole grain flour. I'm just looking at some comments. So Julie's asking, would gluten-free ground oat work for the flour? I want to say that date sugar, so is it a dry date sugar? If it's not a dry date sugar, you might want to adjust a little bit if it's like a paste. The oat flour, that's a really good question. I don't know. I'm not going to make up an answer. I don't know. I would have to look that up. Look that up. Whole grain flour and sometimes whole wheat flour can feel a little heavy to me. So I either like a white whole wheat flour or this whole wheat pastry flour, which is a little bit hard to find. Whole Foods has it. I don't bake a lot, so I feel like it's okay to use a little bit more expensive flour. Okay, we need a cup of the flour. It's not a lot, but like I said, the recipe makes one layer. Okay, there's my flour. Let me get that out of the way. Half a cup of sugar. I wrote coconut sugar, but you can use sugar, just sugar. And we want half a cup. Where's my half a cup measure? Here it is right in front of me. Let me just make sure I've got that. No, it's not half, it's a third. I was thinking that can't be right. All right, a third of a cup. This is actually a brown coconut sugar. It's all I could find. And then half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, dry date. Dry date should work just fine, Julie. I think any kind of dry sweetener, you could make a substitution. Okay, half a teaspoon of sea salt. Then what's going to make it chocolate is cocoa powder. So I'm going to use a quarter cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. I think this is Anthony's brand cocoa powder, and I really like it. A lot of times when I make a smoothie, I'll put a teaspoon and make it a chocolate smoothie. Yes. Okay, and then a couple more dry ingredients are the baking powder and baking soda. And we want a teaspoon each of those. Scant teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, this is the baking powder. Teaspoon. And then a scant teaspoon, which is, I guess, a teaspoon that's a little bit less than a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, those are our dry ingredients. I'm going to mix these up with a whisk. If I were a real baker, I would be sifting all of this. I'm sort of like a 90% person. Sometimes you have to be real precise with recipes and follow the directions exactly, but a lot of times, and that's particularly true with baking, but a lot of times with plant-based recipes, you can add more of this or that, you can substitute here and there, you can leave things out, and they'll be fine. Okay, I've got this all mixed up. Now, and there goes the little bell on my oven. It's nice and hot. I'm going to add the wet ingredients. Somewhere here I have a spatula. Here we go. So this is very smooth. I don't know if you can see. It's very smooth. It's really beautiful. It's sweet potatoes, vanilla, maple syrup, and some water. I'm going to make sure I get every little scrap out of here. I'm going to clean off my blade. Kind of a slow process. I get to lick my finger. Okay. get the rest of this out of here. We'll mix it up and we'll put it into the mini cupcake tin. I don't want to leave any of this in here. Get every little scrap out of it. Okay, there we go. So I'm mixing the wet with the dry. You know, a lot of times on these I have another camera. Today I don't have another camera. So I'm just going to have to lean over here and show you mixing wet with the dry. I want to mix these until everything's sort of incorporated. I hope some of you guys watching will try this recipe. You know, there's no oil, no butter, no eggs. The sweet potatoes give it all that moisture that you need. I'm getting there, getting it stirred up. Yeah, so it's starting to look like chocolate cake batter now. The orange sweet potatoes have vanished. They've been overtaken by cocoa. I know this is taking a little while. Yeah, so folks are watching. I appreciate getting comments and questions, and just tell me where you're from, or tell me how you ended up here, or are you interested in plant-based cooking, and you know, all of that. I became plant-based about 6 years ago. Before that, I was vegetarian for many, many years. Actually, I've been vegetarian for 33 years. And then I did not actually, wasn't real fond of dairy. I had lactose intolerance, so anytime I had dairy, I had to take a lactase enzyme pill, and so I didn't, you know, just drink milk or anything like that. Okay, this batter's ready. Get rid of this thing. Yeah, so when I decided to become plant-based, I did a little research, and Cornell offers a really nice certificate program in plant-based nutrition. And I went and went through that program, got that certificate. See if I can talk and do this at the same time. So I'm getting sort of a heaping tablespoonful. I'm going to put that in, well, I think that's actually too much. These are little bitty cups. I'm probably just going to do one batch here, just to demonstrate. Yeah, so I got that certificate from Cornell, and then I heard about the Food for Life program, which is a curriculum developed by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and it's a curriculum for people to use when teaching about the health benefits of eating plant-based. So there's many series of classes in that curriculum, and the series are each aimed at different health issues. But the diet is very similar for all of them. It's just a whole foods plant-based diet. So here's a question: would these cupcakes be considered whole foods and plant-based? So the part that's whole foods, I think, are the sweet potatoes. The flour is a whole grain flour. True, it has been ground, but it's still whole grain. Maple syrup comes right from the tree. I mean, it's not perfectly whole foods plant-based because you know, we put some sugar in here. We added a few baking ingredients like baking powder, baking soda, salt. But it's pretty darn close to a Whole Foods plant-based cake. Okay, I put batter in my muffin tins. I'm going to stick this in the oven. This should bake pretty quickly. The cake would take about 22 minutes. I think this would take about half that long. I'm going to set my timer for 10 and then we'll check it. Okay, I've got a good bit of batter left, so I'll finish this up later. Okay, now I thought I'd make the frosting, and I'm going to make that in my other food processor. The big one. This recipe actually makes a lot of frosting, and you can freeze it. So that's what I'll do, because I know I won't use all of it with this one cake recipe. Okay, so what do we have in the frosting? Get this. We have a cup of sweet potatoes. I think I'm going to get a clean cup measure. That other one had flour on it. So we need a cup of sweet potatoes for the frosting. Wow, I have just about a cup here. Again, if you missed the beginning, I had pre-cooked 2 pretty good sized sweet potatoes and scooped out the potato part, and that actually made just the right amount for these recipes. So the cake used 3/4 of a cup, and this is a cup for the frosting. Okay, it's going to use half a cup of sugar. Where's my half? It is a problem having so many little containers here. Okay, this is half a cup. And again, I got this brown coconut sugar that I'm using, but any kind of granulated sweetener would work. We're going to use half a cup of cocoa powder. Let's see. I'm going to get my cup in there. Nope. See if I can manage not to spill this all over the counter. I'm going to just scoop it out with a tablespoon here. So Julie had another question. The reason you don't add the dry to the wet. Oh, yes. So with cakes and brownies and muffins, you add wet to dry, and you just want to mix it enough to get the dry incorporated. If you put it in the processor, it's going to kind of over process it, and it might not rise and be nice. Especially true with muffins. You want a little bit of air inside there so that it'll rise. Yeah, so we don't make cake batter or muffin batter or brownie batter in a food processor. That's my understanding of things anyway. Cakes, let me think about this. Cakes I know you mix in a mixer, but this is different. This is a different type of cake. It's another thing I should know a little bit more about, and I need to look up. Okay, we're also going to add half a cup of almond butter. So that's what's adding the fat to this recipe, is the almond butter. And I have a jar of almond butter here. I mixed it up earlier because it separates, and you end up with all the oil on the top and the nut, sort of the nut meat down at the bottom, kind of sticky. So I mixed it up quite a bit, and I think it's pretty good. And we want half a cup of almond butter. So let me see if I can get that in there. I think this frosting recipe, it makes a lot, and if you're just making enough maybe for your one layer cake, or a dozen cupcakes, you might cut this recipe in half. Oh, this is a lot of almond butter in here. I don't see any reason you couldn't use peanut butter in this recipe. The recipe calls for cashew or almond butter. The peanut butter, of course, would give you a flavor, but there's nothing wrong with that. Kind of what Reese's peanut butter cups are, right? Chocolate and peanut butter. Okay, where are we? I need 2 tablespoons of plant-based milk. I've just got some almond milk here. And a teaspoon of vanilla. So like some of the same ingredients that are in the cake. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is my salt shaker. Okay, that is the frosting recipe. Now we're going to blend this up till it's nice and smooth. I'm going to get a spatula and stir this up. I want to see if it's thick, because you can always add just a little bit more milk. See, this is you can't see, it's very thick. Yeah, that almond butter thickens it up. I think I'm going to add another tablespoon of plant milk. Oh, hi, Anita. Glad you could be here. You're almost in time to have a cupcake. I've made the cupcakes and they are in the oven. And right now I'm just making some frosting. I'm using the recipe on my website, but I have added a little more milk. Okay, let's see if this is better. Yeah, so trying to think of a way to show you the consistency. Whoops. It's quite spreadable. I don't know if you can tell, it's quite spreadable. It will hold pretty well on the cupcakes, but it is spreadable. So I think it's the right texture right now. All right, let me set that aside and let me think about. We just have 1.5 minutes left till the timer goes off for the cupcakes, and I'll check on them. One thing I wanted to do, I hope this isn't going to be a disaster, because it's not something I do very often. I wanted to pipe the frosting onto the cupcakes. So I have this little kit. It came, I guess, from Amazon. It was probably $5 or something. So it's reusable, which I like. It has the bags for the frosting. It has various little decorative tips that you can use, which I've hardly ever used. It's got this gadget which holds the tips on the bag. And yeah, so I've set one up already. I've got a tip and it's solidly on there. And here's my bag. And I'm going to put some, when it's time to frost the cupcakes, I am going to put some frosting in here, and we'll try frosting the cupcakes. See how that works. It's kind of a fun thing to do. You know, this is how they decorate cakes, which it's a wonderful thing to do, is make a really pretty cake. And I always let other people do that. All right, let me see if these muffins are finished. They look finished. I have to get a different pot holder. And the reason I say they look finished is they have risen. Actually, they feel a little bit soft. I think I'm going to give them 2 more minutes. I don't want them to be, I don't know what they're like inside. Yeah, I'm going to give them 2 more minutes, and then we'll test them with a toothpick. Okay, so the other the other recipe I was going to do, kind of squeeze in here while these things were baking, was a savory, what do I call it? Savory seasonings blend from Dr. Michael Greger's book, How Not to Die. Such a catchy title. He has some recipes in there that he recommends. So this is a mix of different seasonings that you can use for seasoning instead of salt, which, you know, we all eat way too much salt. So it's a really easy recipe. It's something that I can do very quickly and show it to you, and then I'll have some. Then I'll have some in my kitchen. So I'm going to make it in the NutriBullet. Love my NutriBullet. Come over here and plug it in. So underneath the event, in some comments, I left a link to this recipe. It's on the Nutrition Facts website, which is Dr. Greger's nonprofit, nutritionfacts.org, and he has some recipes there. So it's the savory spice blend. Okay, so all of the ingredients are sitting behind me, so I think the first thing I want to do is move them over here. So the first ingredient listed is nutritional yeast, or as us vegans call it, noosh. It's kind of a staple seasoning. You can buy it at most grocery stores. We buy ours in bulk we have a food co-op. We buy it in bulk. I want to tell you, my cats love this stuff. Anita, you should see if your cats would enjoy it. Just put a little on a plate. It's a dead yeast. It's not like brewer's yeast or baking yeast. It's a dead yeast, but it's got kind of a cheesy, savory flavor. So of course it goes into the savory blend. So we need 2 tablespoons of noosh. We need a tablespoon of onion powder. Got to get the lid off. It's hard to get the lid off. So this has nothing to do with the cupcakes. We're just filling some time while they're baking. Okay. Tablespoon of onion powder, tablespoon of dried parsley. This is another Penzi spice. You can tell by the label. They have very distinctive, kind of plain labels. tablespoon of dried parsley, and a tablespoon of dried basil. I don't know how I ever ended up with a container of basil this large. I'm trying to work my way through it. Okay, there's the basil. 2 teaspoons of thyme, which I did not get out. So let's see if I can find it. Thyme, where are you? What I have are thyme leaves. I'm thinking it's probably pretty much equivalent. So 2 teaspoons of that. 1, 2, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. This is garlic powder, yes. So you can put this spice blend on anything. You know, you just steam some vegetables and sprinkle it on, put it on a potato. Okay, 2 teaspoons of dry mustard. And 2 teaspoons of paprika. We're almost done. I actually had almost all these spices. Sometimes people think that's a lot of ingredients, but when you're plant-based or vegan, you use a lot of spices, and I just have a lot. And I don't know if you can't see, but I have this whole rack here. It's 4 shelves, 4 shelves of spices. Kind of ridiculous. Okay, so where were we? That was paprika, half a teaspoon of turmeric root. I have a teaspoon measure. I'm just going to use half. Turmeric. Dr. Greger swears by turmeric, and he feels people should eat turmeric every day. I think it's antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Then it calls for half a teaspoon of celery seeds, which I do not have. So I just didn't have any. So what I'm going to put in there instead is a little bit of pepper. Just a little bit. There, half a teaspoon of pepper. I did not set the timer again on those cupcakes, so I'm going to check them in a second. All right, and then we're just going to grind this up in the NutriBullet, and that will make our spice blend. I'll keep it in a little jar. If I can find a jar with a shaker, that would be great, wouldn't it? All right, hold on, noisy again. That's nice. So I have a kind of a powdery spice blend that I can use on just about everything except cupcakes. Probably wouldn't use it on cupcakes. All right, I'm going to get those muffins out. I know they're done now. Yeah, they're not so soft anymore. I would like to kind of lift them out. And let them cool a little bit before I frost them. Let me get a plate. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay. I'm going to set these out to cool. I'm going to go ahead and get the frosting ready to pipe onto the cupcakes. You know, I'm just thinking, I have new neighbors next door. I haven't met them. They just moved in. Maybe I should take them a plate of cupcakes. I just won't tell them they're made with sweet potatoes. Okay. All right, there's our 12 little mini cupcakes. And I am going to go ahead and frost a couple of these using the piping bag. Again, so I've set it up with a tip. I don't know, just one of the tips. It's kind of, if you don't know how to do this, YouTube is your friend. Lots of how-tos on YouTube. And we don't want to put a lot in here. I'm going to put a little bit of frosting in here. So I've folded the top down so my hand goes underneath and I can just put it in here and then kind of close it. All right. Let's put some. Oof, this is going to be difficult. Get a big old blob of frosting in there. There we go. Another big old blob. You know, you can of course just frost these with a knife. Put your knife in the frosting and spread it on top. I just want to try this. Sometimes these Facebook Live demonstrations are just a chance for me to try something. Okay, and then we can fold that up. And we move the frosting down to the bottom where the tip is. Then I'm just going to squeeze a little out and make sure it's coming out right. I'm just going to put it on the bottom here. Okay, it's coming out with a little, you can't see it. It's coming out with a little bit, because the piping tip has a design, this is coming out with sort of ridges in it. So I think what I'm going to do is swirl it around. I know we're not very close here. So I'm just going to do this swirl. Honestly, I think you'd pay for that at a bakery, wouldn't you? Maybe a quarter, maybe $1. It's really cute. You could put a few sprinkles on it, a raspberry. I'm going to do a few more. The cupcakes are still pretty warm. I don't know if the frosting is going to start getting all runny and melty. It doesn't have ingredients in there that really melt. The avocado butter probably would get softer being on top of these, but it's not like you have butter in here that's just going to melt and everything's going to run. So let me do a couple more, and then I will stop, finish up the rest of the batter, and frost the rest of the cupcakes. I think these are super cute. I love them. Okay, so that's my chocolate cake demo. So I do hope you guys get a chance to make this recipe sometime. Don't forget, thanks Anita. I almost did, didn't I? Anita says, don't forget the cupcakes. And Julie said, toothpick test. So toothpick test is a great test, but I was certain those were done because they had been in there longer than they needed to be. They're fine though. They're fine. Actually, I think I'm going to open one up and we'll break it in half. And you can, if you can see, take the little paper thing off here. Wow. I mean, you can't see them, I know, but they're just little cakes. They're just they're cake light, so they're not wet inside. They're just like a cake. These are good. You definitely taste chocolate. And then chocolate is a very complex set of flavors. Chocolate has hundreds of chemicals, so that's a strong flavor. I do maybe taste vanilla a little bit. Okay, well, I could just stand here and eat these. but you all probably don't want to see that. So I appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate the comments. And I will look that up about oat flour, Julie, and yeah, see if you can make a substitute like that. I would think you could make a substitute like that. I can't think there's a problem. It's not like we're using the gluten in the flour. We're not bringing out the glutinous aspect of it. We're just using it as a vehicle to hold all the ingredients. So I think it will work, but I'll look it up and I'll leave a comment. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time. Hopefully it won't be too long. Take care. Bye.